Susan Gardner here for Municipal World. We're at the 2019 annual conference for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in beautiful Quebec City. Joining me in the Municipal World Media Centre is the Mayor for Aurora, Ontario, Tom Mrakas. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Glad you could come in today and we could connect here in Quebec.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great place to get out and meet with all the elected officials here at FCM.
And it's been a good conference for connecting with other folks.
Definitely. We usually get around and you start to have discussions and learn what's going on in different municipalities, and sometimes you find that you have a lot of similar issues, and you figure out how they've gone about resolving those issues, and sometimes it helps you resolve those issues back home.
So some good networking with people from across the country that...
definitely, from Ottawa, from Vancouver, from Alberta, all sorts, yeah.
So, for folks who don't know, tell us a little bit about your community.
Well, town of Aurora, a population of 60,000. We're a small community that's just 30 minutes north of Toronto. We like to say that Toronto's south of Aurora. So we find that we always say that we're the center of the universe in York region. We are directly in the center. Our community's very strong on our heritage, and while we have grown in size, we tend to say that we're still a small town community, and we do that by keeping that feel about us, and that starts at the top. So we like to ensure that we stay small town.
Okay, so there's some stuff going on in Ontario that's impacting communities, large communities, smaller communities, rural communities alike. Give us your perspective on what you see.
Well, it's a difficult time, I think, for all municipalities in Ontario. Not to put any blame on the provincial government, but this current government seems like every day there's a different thing coming at municipalities. Whether it's cuts, downloading of services, trying to find efficiencies through our budget. Bill 108, looking at taking away authority for planning within our communities. All these things are affecting us directly, and it's coming so fast. I think it's difficult for the municipalities to keep up with all these changes and try to figure out how do we move forward. And at the end of the day, we keep saying the same thing: sit down and talk with us. We are the frontline workers in government. We're the ones that are directly in touch with the people, and if the government slogan is for the people, and if they truly are for the people, then they should listen to the people that are directly dealing with the people.
Municipalities are, in fact, the direct line to their communities, and are willing and capable partners for their counterparts in provincial and federal government. So I think there's some good value in talking about that and stressing that, particularly as we go into the federal election as well.
Well, definitely. I mean, now at this point, it seems that our federal government seems to work better with the municipalities than our provincial government does, and so that needs to change. I think all levels of government need to work together if we're going to provide the services that our communities need.
You referenced Bill 108. For folks who don't know what that is, people listening in from across the country may not be aware. What is 108? Well,
Bill 108 is an omnibus bill. You got 15 different acts that are being affected, from Endangered Species Act, Environmental Protection Act. We have the Heritage Act, LPAT, which is a land use planning, our old Ontario Municipal Board, which was abolished, and now they're looking at bringing back those rules. That's the one that really concerns me, even though I am concerned with most of the environmental protection parts that they're looking at changing as well. It just seems that everything is geared towards allowing a lobbyist for-profit industry, the building industry, to kind of be able to do what they want and to continue to increase their profits, and that's not what it should be about. I mean, at the end of the day, governments aren't about making money; it's about making people's lives better.
Service delivery,
yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, we're not in the business of making money, and that's not what we should be doing. But so we shouldn't be giving it away to everyone else. But this bill is something that I think that could change drastically how communities evolve and grow.
So with respect to the rules around development, it feels like it's a little bit of a pro-development stance that's being taken, sometimes at the cost of local decision-making and quality of life. what kind of specific rules are we talking about that are a concern from Ontario municipalities?
Well, the concern is the old flawed OMB.
Ontario Municipal
Ontario
Board?
Municipal Board
Yeah.
took away the powers, well, from my perspective and from most elected officials' perspective, took away the authority for elected councils to make decisions on how we grow. When we would, I'll give you an example just from Aurora. We meet on a Wednesday, once a month, for public planning, and we sit down and we go through the application. We do our due diligence. We read 200 pages of an application. We go through all of that. We listen to the public. We listen to the developer, and then we make a decision. And then they'll take that to the OMB, and the OMB will overturn it because they're looking at it from a one-size-fits-all approach from a provincial level instead of looking at it from a local level. And we've maintained the whole time that our official plans that we've developed, we've spent money, incredible amounts of taxpayer dollars in developing these plans.
And they're also provincial requirements.
Yes, and they're approved by the province. And so if the province is approving our official plans and they meet the legislation of the provincial policy statement, well then if all we're doing is following and upholding our official plan, then why does it get overturned, our decision? So that was the main fight when we were fighting for those changes to the OMB. That occurred. Everyone in the legislation stated that it was a flawed system and it needed to be changed. And so I've asked many of the MPPs that were sitting when they made the changes, and they're sitting there now. What's changed? What's changed their mind to go back to a flawed system that they believed was a flawed system?
Okay, so many of those things are being potentially reintroduced through this proposed legislation, and
Yes. So they're going to look at bringing back de novo hearings, which we all know will allow the appeal body to hear new evidence, and basically it just becomes a whole new application coming before them, and basically throw out what the municipality has decided is the decision of the municipality.
So there's a lot of Ontario municipalities that have kind of spoken out against this and passed resolutions.
Yes, so we, our OMB reform working group, once the news came out about Bill 108 and that they were going to be changing back to the old OMB rules, right away we threw together a motion that we could float out to all the municipalities across the province, which we've done, and I think so far quite a few of them have passed them. Every day it's a bigger list. The list is growing, but I think as of last week, I would say it's about 40% of the population of Ontario, the municipalities that represent 40% of the population of Ontario have passed the resolution opposing Bill 108 and asking the government to halt proceedings.
Okay. If there's Ontario municipalities that want to learn more about kind of joining that movement, where do they get more information?
They can always contact me at Tom Mrakas at aurora.ca. They can even call me if they'd like, 416-543-1624.
Okay.
I'm easily accessible, and I'd love to get a motion out to every municipality, and hopefully all 444 would pass it.
Okay. So challenges, of course, there always are, but there's some good stuff going on in Aurora as well. Tell us about that. Definitely.
I mean, a lot of the smaller towns, there's issues with your downtown core, and Aurora is no exception. We've had problems, with the revitalization of that downtown area. It's been something that's been talked about for 20, 30 years, and it seems like nothing ever gets moving. Last term, we started off with looking at how we can create a piazza square, a gathering place, and hopefully the thought is that this will help spur that revitalization of the area. Right now we have two great anchors. We have our library and we have our old Church Street School, which has become a cultural center. And they contain an area that can create a square, and that's what we're doing. So right now we're eliminating the parking lot. Parking lot's going to be moving to a different part of the square, and we're going to create a gathering place that's going to have an ice rink during the winter, during the summer, a fountain. You could have markets there. You could have movie showings. Currently, you could have the Jurassic Park type thing for the Raptor games. It's just basically at the end of the day, it's a place where everyone can kind of come, gather, and the whole community can be there. Eventually, it would filter out onto Yonge Street. Our main problem with the downtown core is that we are on Yonge Street, and it's a main highway. the end of the day, and there's a lot of traffic, so it's tough to kind of create that Main Street vibe there.
Yeah.
But we think that doing this, investing in our community with a project that's about $45 million.
It's a big project.
Yeah, it's the biggest project that we'll probably ever do in Aurora. And so I've always said that if we're not willing to invest in our own community, then how would a restaurant or someone take their life savings and put it into our community if we're not willing to do that as well? And so this has spurred some action on the economic side of it as well, and a lot of businesses are starting to look at moving into Aurora. We have Niagara College that is coming into our old Armory building, which is just a little bit further from the square. They're in our town park, so they've taken over that old building. We're redeveloping that building, and it's we're spending $5 million in that and upgrading it. And they're going to be coming in and bringing their food and wine institute there and start classes there. So now we can have some wine in the park and some during our events. We have a lot of concerts in the area, so it's just another way to get everyone kind of into that one spot and feel proud of the community.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see how you activate that public space, and we'll look forward to seeing it once the project's complete.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us here and sharing your perspectives on Ontario and what's happening in the town of Aurora.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm Susan Gardner from Municipal World. We share your stories.